Cigar-shaped crafts were first sighted in Nuremberg, Germany in 1561. In 1990, crowds gathered in Krasnodar, Russia, to watch this cigar-shaped UFO as it hovered over the city for several hours. Another cigar-shaped UFO was filmed in Rhode Island in 1967.
This shot, taken by George Adamski in 1952, clearly shows the larger ship with many smaller ships hovering on it. It's very unique to note the dark, shadowy effect of the larger ship and the very luminescent, bright color coming off the smaller ship. Recently released film clips from NASA have revealed very, very unusual objects that have been filmed and photographed over the years.
NASA's official policy is that it is not engaged in any UFO research. But NASA's footage vaults reveal that all of the early Gemini and Apollo missions encountered UFOs. In 1985, NASA released UFO footage taken by their astronauts in lunar and terrestrial orbit.
This particular shot right here shows a small ball-like silver object racing above the surface of the moon, clearly seen through the window of the Apollo lunar command module.
This film was taken by astronaut James Mc Divitt aboard Gemini 4. One day before the historical landing on the moon on July 20th, 1969, the Apollo 11 crew filmed this luminous disk flying around the lunar surface with great speed.
This craft here was photographed in stationary orbit. You can see the moon's surface, and the craft just seems to be hanging there. In this photograph here, you can see, as we zoom in on it, a lot of detail on what appeared to be two ships landed on the lunar surface.
Despite NASA's official position, the astronauts have spoken about their close encounters. James Lovell, Deke Slayton, James Mc Divitt, Wally Schirra, and others have reportedly had contact with UFOs.
Unfortunately, when you say astronauts have had contact, people think you're having it in space. In space, to my knowledge, Mc Divitt was the only one that could be even possibly an unidentified object.
This is actually a NASA photograph taken by James Mc Divitt on an early Apollo mission. This is the surface of the moon, and they observed this unusual lighted object in the sky and snapped off a couple of shots.
In March 1989, the crew of the Space Shuttle Discovery may have had their own close encounter. A ham radio operator reportedly picked up the voice of shuttle pilot Colonel James Blaha speaking on a secret NASA channel.
Houston, this is Discovery. We still have the alien spacecraft under observance.
NASA has denied that this is Colonel Blaha's voice. Another space mission filmed several disks in high-altitude orbit, traveling at several thousand miles per hour. Shortly thereafter, NASA began scrambling all shuttle transmissions. In the mid-1970s, NASA launched Viking probe, its mission to map the surface of Mars.
There was a scientist standing at the Jet Propulsion Lab back in the mid-1970s when these images started coming back from an orbiter that we had around Mars, Viking. And he yelled out loud, "My God, what is that?" And here was this face, or what people perceive to be a face.
Viking's camera sent back these pictures of what appears to be a face on the Martian surface. Photographic examination has revealed the face is over 1,500 feet tall and over a mile in length.
When others who became interested in that face started looking at other orbital passes and looking at some frames in which there was the face and what's around it, if there's something that appears to actually be possibly an artificial face, and it's that huge, well, maybe there is something around it that would suggest ancient civilization, buildings, something. Well, when they started looking at these frames, they found a cluster of what does appear to be pyramids.
Vikings sent back these pictures of unexplainable structures from the Sidonian region of the planet. Viking photographed these structures in great detail. NASA quickly responded to the public's claims that they had discovered proof of an alien civilization. The official explanation for the structures was that the pictures contained missing data, and Viking cameras could not transmit the information. Despite the photographic evidence released from NASA's own files, the official position is that these encounters are nothing more than space debris, solar flares, or celestial anomalies. Through the years, Hollywood has filled our imagination with alien encounters. Movies like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Aliens, have captivated modern audiences, while the classics like War of Worlds, This Island, and Earth vs. the Flying Saucers attained generations of moviegoers. But there ever been a time when science fiction has blurred the lines of reality?
I ended up in one of several off-the-record conversations with an alleged government agent. And he said, this may or may not surprise you, but he said, do you remember that feature film back in the early 50s called The Day the Earth Stood Still? There was a robot, and there was a humanoid, and there was a silver disc, and the robot and the humanoid were able to bring down entire electrical systems with a technology that was beyond the understanding of our military and our government. And that was what the story was about. And the humanoid was basically saying to the government that you need to take better care of your environment, and there are various things that you need to do.
I came to give you these facts, but if you threaten to end your violence, this earth of yours will be reduced to a burned out earth.
He said that was our government's first test of public reaction. Well, nobody ran out into the streets screaming. In fact, The Day the Earth Stood Still has become a classic film. People love to see that film.
Robert Wise, director of The Day the Earth Stood Still, recalls the movie.
What I loved about this, and the fact that it was laid all in Washington, D.C., in our capital, so it was kind of mundane, down to earth, very real. And I thought it had a great sense of reality and believability and credibility to it.
This was one of the government's ways of getting a population exposed to concepts that might be very difficult. Get everyone really past a point of fear about something new and unknown.
The hidden story has been coming out, let's say, in dribs and drabs over the last 10 to 15 years. Yes, the full story hasn't been told, but I think we're getting a lot of hints of what it might be.
The story has been slowly leaked to the public, in essence, to get them ready for the inevitable truth.
But with all the footage, the photographs, and now scientific proof, is mankind ready for perhaps the ultimate truth?
I think man on Earth here is pretty much ready to receive man from somewhere else.